Mr. Parker did earlier today in a nice purple envelope.
Should have known. That's the law. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
At all.
You spoke to Mr. Kemp about your experience at Real Water, and I just want to make sure I have the dates right. So I have that you were the production manager at Real Water from November 2018 to around April 2019. Is that accurate?
That's right.
And then from April to sometime in May 2019, you were the HOD sales manager for the 5-gallon jugs at Real Water?
Absolutely not. I was not a sales manager. I was a sales team member.
I think you might have mentioned this to Mr. Kemp, but why did you ultimately leave Real Water?
Well, Amy let me go for sure, because she wanted to take over that. And then I went to HOD side, and they promised the commission structure was not transparent. No, I would turn in like, say 20 sales, and I get paid for maybe 2 of them. And that happened like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It just didn't seem really too far with that, but it didn't seem great. So I started driving Lyft, and then within maybe a month or so after that, the controller went to become a controller for Supremeville in Gilbert, Arizona. They needed a production manager, so I went there with him. Did that.
Mr. Bush, was it ultimately your decision to leave Real Water, or were you let go by Real Water?
No. I mean, as far as production manager, that was Amy Jones. As far as the HOD, that was me, Hans.
In terms of your own role as production manager, were you primarily involved with the retail bottle production?
Right, that was 95% of my area.
Who were the primary people on the line for the retail bottle production while you were there?
There's people, Obed, I think Javier, I think there's a list somewhere in there. They were on the line, they were doing the line.
And then in terms, so I'm going to show you now what plaintiffs have marked as Exhibit 20. So I believe it's there in your binder.
Exhibit 20?
Yep. And I'll also put it up on your screen for you. This is Bates number Real Water 065740 to 065742. Do you see that in front of you?
I see it.
And you told Mr. Kemp that this was the general hierarchy of the quality control team while you were there?
Right, that's right. This new plan, I guess he put this together.
Tom, you said refers to Tom Pham.
Sorry,
Tom, you said refers to Tom Pham.
Top fan, right.
And then could you tell us who Jose is?
Yeah, he's like the right-hand man to Obed. He's like a worker bee out there. I remember he was putting bottles into cases, that type of thing. Obed took a break or lunch, and he goes, they would jump in there and do it for him. Yeah, but they're all pretty much the same level. They were Obed, I'd say he was the main person in charge of everything there. These other people looked at him. In case Obed was out or whatever.
In terms of the retail bottle production at the Desert Inn facility, were Obed, Jose, and Diego 3 of the main individuals who worked on the retail bottle production line?
I'd say yes. There was other people that worked there, laborers. They were all laborers, but they were the main ones.
And again, you said that the individuals working on the production line of the 5-gallon jugs at Desert Inn while you were there were different, correct?
Right. I think this guy's name was Efren and some other guy. Not a lot of people in there. I think 3 or 4 people in that room.
In terms of Obed, Jose, and Diego, the individuals who worked on the production line for the retail bottles at Desert Inn, do you believe that they did a good job?
Oh yeah, these people they were fired up. They were just happy as heck to work.
So in terms of the quality control team that worked specifically on the retail bottle production at Desert Inn while you were there, you believe that they did a good job, correct?
I believe so. I'd say 90% they did a good job there. Very attentive.
While you were there at Real Water, was there an HACCP team for the retail bottle production at the Desert Inn facility?
No, I mean, this was put together by Tom just to have it put together. I don't remember ever having any meetings together on this situation. It was just put together so we would have an HACCP team. I believe, one thing I'm fairly sure of, after the Costco audit, the person that went sour, I think this is something that was identified as not being in our records, and they had to put this together.
Did you see that on your screen?
Oh, yeah, I remember this one, yeah.
And I'm happy to scroll down these documents. They all look relatively similar, but with different dates. Does this refresh your memory that there were HACCP meetings at the Desert Inn facility while you were there?
See, I do remember this, I do.
Do you recall that you and Mr. Pham participated in HACCP meetings related to retail bottle production at the facility at that time?
It would have been for the whole plant, yes, we didn't narrow it down. No, I remember on that. Such a small plant, I think you're another one. You have pest control and that kind of thing. Map of the plant, that's things there. Does he maintenance priority projects?
On number 6 here, it says plant sanitation issue. Do you remember what that was?
Oh, boy. Oh, I think I should remember that. Like I said, they were putting together a 5-gallon line in another room outside of the room they were originally making the 5 gallons at. It was right next to the bathroom facilities for the whole plant. When you say bathroom facilities, it's a toilet and a closed door, they close very well. And I was saying the odor from this thing is pretty bad. So that was something we had to work on. I do remember something to do with increase the sanitation of that, but one of the crews, the volunteer, that didn't work out. So I got somebody just specifically going there and make sure that's clean every day. But I didn't like it being there, but.
The number 4 entry here says Mike will conduct training on employee GMP personnel. Do you see that?
I do see that.
What is employee GMP personnel, if you recall?
I think it's worded kind of funky there, but let's see. It's your GMPs, I recall that. It's like wearing your hairnet and face mask around, wearing gloves and certain things you do. Goggles, I think goggles is part of that.
Just refer to good manufacturing practices.
Having sodas out in the plant, that type of thing.
And I apologize, does this refer to good manufacturing practices?
Right, yeah, for sure. Like wearing a lab coat, and the person inside the bottling room has to have a lab coat at all times, wearing goggles at all times. I forgot they wore gloves, and I believe they wore gloves in the bottling room had real stringent, more than the rest of the plant that they had to do.
In terms of your role as production manager at Real Water, did you ensure that the retail bottle production line was following good manufacturing practices while you were in charge?
Oh yeah, that was probably my main things to do there. I didn't speak Spanish. A lot of people just spoke only Spanish, so I had to work around that, but it's no problem.
You found a way to ensure that they knew the good manufacturing practices for the retail bottle production?
For sure. I mean, like I said, the big point of this was Obed. He spoke Spanish and English, and I had to convey something to a new person out there. We get it done. They were really a attentive team out there. They want to keep things rolling. They were doing okay before, but I kind of put a little incentive out there for pizzas or whatever I was doing for them, potlucks and stuff, things like that.
This is another document produced by Real Water. It is titled at the top HACCP, document number 04-11-11-05, and then the base number on the first page is Real Water-001821, and it goes to Real Water-001824. Do you see that?
That's it.
Do you recall receiving an HACCP SOP from Real Water?
Oh yeah, let's see, I signed it off there for sure. I do remember walking in the room. This is a special room again, right? And there was a UV light in there that the water had to go through this UV light, kill bacteria. I remember that.
Is that your signature? I think you mentioned where it says checked by QA QC.
That's me. That's my sloppy. That's me right there. In the middle. Blaine Jones, myself, and I think there's Tom Pham, I think, yeah.
This is a document that it's titled, it's from Silver State Analytical Laboratories. It says invoice and it's dated March 5th, 2019. Do you see all that?
That's it.
And just below it says reported to and it says Mike Bush. Do you see that part?
Oh, yeah, I remember there's something about that for sure.
Do you recall having a role in periodic testing of real water on behalf of the company?
Oh, yeah, it was Silver State. Silver State would do it, and I get these documents, come in, and it was give me the document, and I hand it to Amy, I'm sure, or Blaine.
This specific document says quarterly NSF as the project name. Do you see that?
Project name Corley, yeah, see that?
Do you know what quarterly NSF is in terms of a project for the testing?
And no, I'm not set up with the, no, I just told, take this document when they come in. I remember, now I remember, I'm sorry, this is a while ago, I'm trying to remember. But I remember this person would come in and he'd say, I'm taking samples. So I walked through the plant, I had always walked in a big plant, walking around. And I do remember they took samples from, I think it's right after the water softener, somewhere in that area. Had a little spigot he turned on, filled up some water things and left. And yeah, it was, and I think he probably mailed this document back to Amy or somebody there.
Do you recall that there was weekly testing of real water bottles that you were involved in?
Well, I'm sure. Like I said, the Silver State people would come in, and I was told to bring them in and not monitor them, but they would open the spigot, fill up their container. I think they'd use some of our bottles, probably fill them up, took them out, and they'll just report back to Blaine or Amy or both.
Do you recall ever receiving any abnormal test results from Silver State Laboratories, specifically relating to the retail bottle production while you were there?
If I did, I'd immediately bring it to Blaine's attention. It would not sit in my hands for less than a second or so. That would be something major there.
And as you sit here,
that's our main thing. So.
As you sit here, do you recall receiving any?
No, I don't.
In terms of hydrazine that Mr. Kemp asked you about, for the retail bottle production specifically, are you aware of any test results for retail real water that found hydrazine in them at any time while you were there?
No. I would have Googled it myself. That would have been a red flag for me at least, but no, I'm not aware, no.
You mentioned that you drank retail real water bottles from time to time. Is that true?
For sure. We get a case in the week. I bring home to my wife and I would have them. So.
And you and your wife drank those bottles during the duration that you worked at Real Water?
Yes, for sure.
So you drank the retail bottles between roughly November 2018 to May of 2019?
Right, probably that zone, right?
Did you or your wife ever have any sort of health issues that you attribute to Real Water retail bottles during that time period?
No, I can't recall anything that my wife and I had, no.
So just so I understand, while you worked at the Desert Inn Real Water facility, what was your role with audits, if any?
I would just, like a dog and pony show type thing, I'd walk around with Blaine and Amy, I guess, and the auditor. And then any questions related to me, I asked their questions. If they asked me questions that I knew how to answer, mostly Blaine, which Blaine or Amy would answer those things.
And you recall that you were shown, I think it was Exhibit 18, which was the December 6, 2018 audit. Do you recall that?
I do recall that.
Before today, had you ever seen the audit itself? Had you ever seen that before?
Let's see, I probably, when Tom Pham came on board, I think we went over some of it, I think. No, but Amy was pretty adamant about getting this audit redone. She said she's got some people to call or something. Anyway, yeah, I don't, I can't remember specifically everything that we put on that date.
Okay. So is it accurate then that you're
You don't specifically recall reviewing this audit before today?
Specifically, no. I might have reviewed it, but if it pertains to me, water transportation, no. Source water, pest control. Out of the time, I guess. I'm just looking through it real quick. Okay, I do remember this one. It's a big deal here. It's what's it, page 6 of 17. Not a big deal for you, I'm sure. Number 4, about people wearing earrings and those types of things. There were some guys that put earrings or tongue rings. I don't know what they're wearing. But there's a big push to get these people to remove that stuff. Had some trouble with some employees that want to wear them in, forget about them.
Okay, and are you generally recalling the issue pertaining to the earrings, or is this type of document, which is the audit, the document that documents everything that was done in the audit and the scores, is this type of document something that was that's something that you would have reviewed as part of your job duties?
Well, not a review specifically. I would have gone over it with Blaine, I'm sure.
Okay.
I need to resolve, or someone would give me a bullet points to knock out.
And do you recall seeing any audits other than the one that is Exhibit 18 during your time at Real Water?
No, but I think after this, I think I suggest that I do my own audits. Because I didn't like this to get hit once a year. I do my own audits once a week or so, just walk through the plant, check everything out. I think Tom Pham did the same thing. His own vocal audit, so you tighten things up before we get a big audit like that.
Have you ever heard of something called a re-audit?
Yeah, that's the one I told you that Amy was really pushing for that, because she said we could lose this big account, and she was making phone calls to everybody about it. She's very upset. And she got an auto. I think she knew somebody who was an auditor or something. I don't know. Anyway, we got to be on that.
Okay, so, and do you know if Real Water received a higher score on the re-audit that was completed? And
I do remember they did a better score on that.
okay.
We're very happy with that.
It's your understanding that Costco was one of the customers that Real Water had, is that right?
Yeah, it was a major customer with them.
Okay, and what makes you say that it was a major customer?
We fill up a truck. Had how many pallets in there? 17, 18 pallets in a truck, and they'd be Costco. But a driver just dedicated only to Costco and delivered to Costco, all Henderson, Summerlin. There's a new Costco out there. So the local Raiders are practicing out there, and 2 or 3 other Costco's, I think, but they had all of Vegas.
At night, when the meter, you call it the pH meter, but the MW500 you were showing a picture of, when it wasn't in use, how was it stored? Do you recall?
Oh, well, I remember the probe itself was put inside like a vial. I don't know if it's vinegar or water, just put it in a vial, keep it clean. It wasn't just sit there to dry. It couldn't dry out 100%. It wasn't planned. They were rinsed off. If they wouldn't put it in a vial, they were wrapped up in a paper towel with water on it. That's how it was stored.
Okay, and who told you how to store it that way, or who taught you how to store it that way?
Blaine.
Okay, so, okay. And do you recall specifically whether it was vinegar or water that was stored in the I'll call it the pen cap, because that's what it looks like to me, but do you know what I'm talking about when I say the pen cap?
Yeah.
Do you have an understanding whether or not that was vinegar or water, or do you not recall?
We can't say for sure. I know we use vinegar. It was a 5-minute process to calibrate it. Or if even wet, I think it was distilled water. We put distilled water in there for overnight type thing.
And Mr. Hoffman asked you about the production line workers for the retail bottles. Do you remember that?
I do.
And the production line workers for the retail bottles, when you were there, were Obed, Jose, and Diego, correct?
They were the ones that were consistently there. There's like 4 or 5 others that were popping in here and there.
Obed, Jose, and Diego were the primary ones?
Right, they were the ones that always there.
Okay. And you said that Obed spoke Spanish and English?
He did.
Did Jose speak Spanish and English?
I think he did. So did Diego.
Okay.
Diego was kind of a little cracky on it, but some of the people were just pure Spanish there.
What was your word, cracky? Is that what you just said?
Kind of like, it's a bit bad wording, but he was not 100%. Diego was 100% English, maybe 75%, 80% Spanish, and understood a little bit English.
Is that what some people would call broken English?
There you go.
Okay, so Diego spoke broken English,
Right.
and Jose also spoke broken English?
Jose was good in English. Him and Obed were about the same.
Were the standard operating procedures translated into Spanish, to the best of your knowledge?
Ooh, I don't believe so. That's a point that they did bring up quite a bit. So we should do this in Spanish.
Who brought up that you should do it in Spanish?
I think Obed, because he was a forward-thinking guy, and I think I was doing the same thing around there.
So your recollection is Obed felt that the production line workers would be benefited if the standard operating procedures was translated in Spanish?
Right, for sure.
Okay. Did Obed, have any specific concerns about them not being translated in Spanish?
No, it wasn't like they don't have to read SOPs every day, whether it be English or Spanish. They have to understand the general guidelines. That's Obed would do good on that. Make sure the cap on the right, flip the bottles over for good before you put them inside the case and have it.
Okay, and do you know one way or the other whether or not Obed had a health card?
No, I don't.
Do you know one way or the other whether or not Jose had a health card?
I don't know that.
And do you know one way or the other whether or not Diego had a health card?
Don't know.
Right, and lastly, you told Mr. Robbins that you had a general recollection that the tips of the probes were stored in distilled water overnight. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I did it myself, yes.
And so your general recollection is that the probes overnight were put in distilled water, correct?
My general recollection, right? Not 100% general recollection.
But that's your best recollection as we sit here today?
Yes.
And then he asked you about some other bottles that you said were, quote, outdated and discolored, unquote. Do you recall that testimony?
I remember you mentioned something about some kind of testing solution or some other solution they sent in the kit. I remember there were some that were, a lot of people had their hands in that thing in there.
Okay. And I assume you would not use a solution that you thought was outdated and discolored, would you?
No.
So you didn't use this solution?
No, I probably, there was one that we had to use. As long as it was calibrated correctly, calibrated with vinegar, that kind of thing, it worked out, but there's no reason to use that.
That completes the testimony, Eric, and this witness can be excused for all purposes.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thanks very much. Counsel for defense would like to call your next witness.
I would, Your Honor. I would like to double check to make sure we have the right video clip queued up for Brent Jones.
Oh, of course.
I just want to double check.
Of course.
Your Honor, Whirlwater calls Brent Jones.
Jones, are you here to your video? Go ahead, please.
Okay, Mr. Jones, going back on the record, I wanted to take you back to the time period around the recall, March of 2021. And I think earlier, you're in Panama, is that right? Correct. And I think you said you were blindsided by this news. Correct. Did you have an understanding about what the potential problem was that arose in Las Vegas?
At this time, I don't know if I knew at that point. Obviously, hindsight now as it's developed. We didn't know, I remember at the beginning, didn't know what the issue was whatsoever. The FDA came into the Las Vegas facility initially, and they didn't really roll down the mace, I think, for a week or two. So it was focused on the home office delivery, because we did not sell any ready-to-drink out of that facility. It was all sold by distributors such as UNFI or KE or Nevada Beverage. So at the point that this happened, it was believed it was only associated with the home office delivery. And I guess subsequently people claim that they're ready to drink, but at the time we didn't have any thoughts that it was any association.
All right, did you do any investigation into what went wrong with people that's, first of all, let me do this. Are you aware of an association between consuming real water 5-gallon jugs in the fall of 2020 and liver injuries?
I'll just, so we can cut to the chase, I'll answer, what you're asking me. And if it isn't, you can get it clarified. We had no idea that I had no idea that our water was causing problems. My own son Lane got very sick, and at the same time, we didn't stop drinking raw water. We didn't have any idea that it was associated with raw water whatsoever. I mean, he got sick himself, and if we would have thought it was raw water, we would have done something. At that time, we didn't because we didn't know there was any association whatsoever with raw water. So no, I did not think that there was any problem with real water in October or November of 2020. I was completely blindsided when it happened in March.
You know hydrazine?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware that hydrazine can be used as kind of a rocket fuel?
I'm not aware of the use for hydrazine.
Are you aware that hydrazine can cause nervous system effects as well as liver and kidney damage?
I'm not aware of the effects of hydrazine on the body, no.
All right. Would you agree with me that hydrazine or chemical rocket fuel should not be in a real water product?
Yes, I would agree that it should not be in a real water product.
Your Honor, that concludes this clip. We would reserve the right to bring Mr. Brent Jones if there's an additional case.
Council Plan? Do you concur?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then this will apparently subject to recall. Okay, Council for Defendant, would you like to call the next witness, please?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Odou for your order. This may be our last witness, just to give the court a heads up. We call Blaine Jones. And this is a pre-recorded testimony of Blaine Jones.
Thank you. And your parties, Chairman Clay, go ahead.
All right, Blaine, would you please tell the jury where you went to high school?
I went to Boulder City High School as well. I graduated from Boulder City High School, but also attended North High School in California.
Okay, and when did you graduate from Boulder City?
2005.
And after graduating from high school, what'd you do?
I started working for my father, a couple of different businesses that he had going on and different things that he was doing.
Who's your father?
Brett Jones.
Okay. And approximately when did you start working at Real Water?
I would say probably around 2008.
And when you first started working at Real Water, what kind of work did you do?
I first started working on the production line.
And what is that?
The producing of all the water product that he was making.
And where was that?
In Las Vegas, off the Desert Inn.
And did you start to progress through the company as you worked there?
Yeah, worked for a number of years at the company and did different positions that whatever was basically needed at the time throughout the years, kind of filled that gap and, made everything work.
And what kind of company is it?
That's a bottled water.
And what kind of water is your water?
Alkaline and negatively ionized.
And when you first started with the company, who made the concentrate?
John Morley.
And who's John Morley?
He's the inventor of the concentrate technology.
Okay. And did that change at any time?
During the course of the company, I was instructed and trained by him on how to do part of the process for making the concentrate. And he trained me. He was always kind of involved with it throughout the years, but it went from him solely doing it to then me taking over some of those.
So kind of on-the-job training?
Yeah.
And about when was that approximately?
I would say 4 or 5 years into the company's life. So at least kind of started training me.
So about 2012, that time frame?
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Okay. Blaine, what are we looking at here?
That is a water filtration unit.
And what does it do?
It takes the municipal water from the tap, basically, and puts it through a series of filtration steps, mainly reverse osmosis, which is the one that takes out the majority of the particulates or things in the water.
So this is basically municipal water comes in on one side, and then what happens?
It goes through all the different stages. You see the different tanks and filters that are on the unit there. Like I said, reverse osmosis, a couple different media filters, UV lights. There's an ozone addition to the water as well. And so basically out of the end of it, it comes out and goes into a holding tank and it's filtered water.
All right, what are we looking at here, Blaine?
In the center of the frame there is the 5-gallon washing, filling, and capping machine.
And this is at the Henderson facility?
Correct.
And what's on the left-hand side of that screen?
That is a water tank that was used, I believe, for the actual mixing and making of the real water product.
Okay. So the water would come out of the filtration system and go into that tank or the other tank?
There's a holding tank, I think, behind the filling machine that you can't quite see here, where it would go into, and then it would go into that holding tank and then be pulled from the holding tank into that mixing tank, I guess is what it's called.
Okay. We see page 2 of Exhibit 337, please. Again, what are we looking at here?
Different angle, the 5-gallon filling, washing, filling, capping machine on the right, and then you can see the tanks there. The middle one is one of the mixing tanks on the right that you can kind of barely see is the holding tank, and then another mixing tank on the far left.
Okay. We go to the third page of Exhibit 337, please. And now what do you see?
You can see the holding tank better, larger there on the left.
So the water comes out of the filtration system into that holding tank?
Correct.
And what are we looking at here, Glenn?
It's a 3-compartment sink.
And what was this used for?
Washing and sanitizing of different tools, things that were needed.
And can we take a look at what's been marked as Exhibit 246L, also has been pre-admitted, or agreed to be admitted, rather?
Another example of the 3-compartment sink, and then also a hand washing sink there on the left.
And in the foreground, that's the fill tank?
The holding tank area on the right, and then the 2 mixing tanks on the left.
Okay, and there's a ladder in the picture. What is that used for?
To be able to access the top of the mixing tanks.
And let's take a look at the last exhibit, or the last photo, which would be 2461. What are we looking at there?
Different angle with the 3-compartment sink, hand washing sink there on the left, and then one of the mixing tanks there on the right.
So after the product is made, what is the machine right in front of us here?
The 5-gallon machine, so the empty bottles would be fed into the machine on the other side that's being shown, and they would go into a washing cycle, a sanitation cycle, and then come around and get filled and capped. That would be the flow of the bottles themselves. The water would be pumped from the mixing tanks over to the 5-gallon machine there. First go through a secondary UV light that you can see on the top of the 5-gallon machine, and then go into the filling heads of the machine, which would then go into the empty bottles that were just washed and sanitized.
As part of the manufacture of real water, was the water sent to outside laboratories for testing?
Yes.
Blaine, can you describe in very, very general terms what this is? This is a letter from 2017. What is this?
This is a letter from Silver State Analytical Laboratories here in the Vegas area, who the company used to do various testing, and as a third-party certified lab to do the testing.
And what were they testing?
The product,
The finished product?
finished product. Yeah.
How often were they doing testing?
They would do weekly testing, quarterly testing, yearly testing, and then another more comprehensive test every 4 years.
And so this particular one is from 2017?
Appears to be
And who's Pace Analytical?
subcontractor for Silver State.
And what did they do for the water?
Same thing, so Silver State was the vendor that the company used, and then Pace Analytical was who they subbed the actual these tests out to, for whatever reason.
What's the time frame of this particular test?
Looks like it's July of 2018.
And what is this?
Another test from a different lab.
And when was this one?
Looks like it's November of 2019.
And again, what are they testing?
The finished product. I couldn't tell you, there's a number of different things they actually test for, but the sample was of the finished product.
And let's take a look at the last one. Exhibit 20930, please. And what is exhibit 20930?
Another test from wet lab,
And what are they testing?
finished product.
At one point, did you become aware that Real Water had failed an NSF audit?
So they don't necessarily do a full pass-fail from my recollection. They give you, depending on how severe, I guess, the findings are. But for Real Water, in my recollection of the different lists that it went through, we only ever had a few findings that needed to be corrected and given some corrective actions and things that needed to be done. But I want to say we were always in the 90th percentile of passing, I guess you should say.
And that audit was required by one of the vendors that Real Water sold to?
Correct.
The audit that Real Water did not pass, do you remember what happened?
I don't recall the specific points that were listed as not passing, no.
Do you recall that one of the questions that the auditors had was that the HACCP trained employee had just left the company?
Yes.
What do you recall about that?
So we had, the company had an employee that was working, that was HACCP trained. She had been with the company for 4 or 5 years, I want to say, over the production area as well as quality control. And she resigned her position a few days prior to the audit. It's a surprise audit, you never know when the person's going to come in to actually do the audit. She resigned within a week of when the auditor showed up. So it was a bit of a surprise at the time. And unfortunately I had to kind of step in and, do the best that I could.
And at the time of the audit, or after that audit, did you take HACCP training?
I did, yep.
And what does HACCP stand for?
Hazard analysis and critical control points.
Now I want to turn to, for the last area I want to ask you about, focusing on the production of Real Water. Can you explain to the jury why workers are told not to drink Real Water directly off the line?
Sure. Basically because the part of the filtration process of the product goes through ozone. One of the common ways to treat pond water or water for bacteria, basically eliminate the bacteria in the water. And so it was treated with ozone right before it's bottled, which is the standard practice through bottled water manufacturing. And that ozone is harmful for someone to drink directly. And so if you drink the product right after it was dosed with the ozone or right after it was bottled, you'd have an upset stomach, not feel very well for a day or two or so. The ozone dissipates out of the product, out of the water. It has a half-life, I believe, of about 8 hours. I'm an expert, but that's my recollection. So drinking the product right after it's bottled, you would be basically in that high concentration of ozone.
Are you familiar with this document?
No, I'm not.
How about page 20 of this document? Have you seen a list of these toxins or poisons identified by the CDC? You've heard of the CDC, correct?
I have.
Do you see where hydrazine is identified on this list of toxins? Take a real time.
Yep, I see it.
Is it fair to say that the tests that you performed or that were performed on this water did not include testing hydrazine?
It's my understanding that those tests didn't include
Did or did not?
Did not.
Thank you very much. One other question. Is it fair to say that hydrazine was found in the real water concentrate?
I was made aware of it after certain time. I was asked, actually went through my depositions, I was found out that it was found in the product.
And so from roughly 2008, when you began working there, until 2020, real water never tested for hydrazine, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you. I'll pass it.
Thank you, and that concludes this portion. We look at the damage of the rectal call. Mr. William Jones, is present on your votes.
Councilor Fine, so you can give this correct.
Yes, sure.
Okay, appreciate it this time. Would you all like to approach my court clerk from Charles Place, please? So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to send you out for your afternoon break. Don't worry, it's going to be done. We anticipate by 4-ish or today. So get out early, okay? But the other news I'm going to tell you, once we get back from breaks, one of the things I need to talk with the council on when this is likely to go to a jury. We'll be happy. So, would you like to send out for your recess? Ladies and gentlemen, the afternoon recess. You are admonished not to talk and converse among yourselves. Every 15 minutes come back at, let's say 3:05. You are admonished not to talk and converse among yourselves with anyone else on any subject connected to this trial. You must not read, watch, or listen to any report, ever commentary on the trial, or any person or entity connected with the trial by any medium of information, including without limitation, social media, text, tweets, newspapers, television, internet, radio. Anything I have not stated specifically is, of course, also included. Do not visit the scene or any events mentioned during the trial, or undertake any research, experimentation, or investigation. Do not do any posting or communications on any social networking sites or anywhere else. Do not do any independent research, including but not limited to internet searches. Do not form or express any opinion on any subject text of the case. So the trial. So the case is found in the time of jury lawyers. With that, have a nice break. See you back at 3:05. Thank you.
All rise, jury exit. May be seated.
Thank you. Have a nice break. Go off the record. Okay. No worries. We're on the record outside the presence of the jury, same counsel, same parties. Go ahead, Counsel, Mr. Love.
Yes, Your Honor, Mark Love for Real Water. In lieu of calling Dr. Alsina, our medical expert, we've come to an agreement with plaintiffs, and we'll just simply read a statement as to what he would have testified to had he been here. And that'll just speed things up.
That's correct.
Okay. And when do you want to read it?
I'm fine with reading it to the jury, Your Honor.
I think technically this is evidence, so they need to read it before they rest.
Right, but I don't know if they're resting today or resting on Monday
They're
or,
resting today, and then they're put back to us, and we're gonna rest again and
okay.
submit it.
Right, and yes,
Okay.
Your Honor, as soon as we read the statement, we can rest.
Okay. Just 1 second. I just got called to the back. Give me 2 minutes. I'll be right back in just a moment. Please off the record for a quick moment, please. Okay. Back on the record outside the presence of the jury. Sorry, counsel, Mr. Love, you were saying you wanted to read it to the jury So when the court says to please call your next witness, do you want the court to say any introduction, or you just want the court to say call your next witness, and then you're going to say what you want to say and read what you want to read?
I think that's fine, Your Honor. I think you can say call the next witness, and then I can just get up and say, in lieu of Dr. Alsina coming in person, we're reading the following statement.
The court's going to be fine as long as it's on counsel for plaintiff.
I just want to make sure that there's no imprimatur of the court put on it, testimony, and it's not that we agree to. That's the only two considerations.
Well,
Did you hear Mr. Kemp?
No.
Oh,
okay, and I'll just, yeah. Plaintiffs aren't agreeing necessarily to the statement that's being made, but it does say, in lieu of having him testify, the parties have agreed to read the following statements.
yes, sir. We have agreed to the procedure.
Right. Okay. And I'm just wondering, Your Honor, do you want to see the statement before it's read?
I do not, as long as it's the parties are in agreement that it can be read. Really, the court's not taking a position on it one way or another.
We are in agreement, Your Honor.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you're asking the court to do, right? It's just a straight
That's correct.
That's correct.
agreement. It's not even something that the court needs to really do anything. Okay, and I understand also, there's a quick point of clarification. Exhibits 236 and 646, which were stated being agreed to and stipulated today to be admitted, had actually already been admitted on 1/26. I understand the parties want the January 26th date to remain as the date that those exhibits were admitted, 236 and 646. Is that correct, counsels? Plaintiff? Is
Eric Pepperman for plaintiffs, yes, Your Honor.
that correct, counsels, for Real Water?
Joel Odou for Real Water, that is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, perfect. Take care of that one for you. One of the real quick administrative thing is one of your jurors use a different name, and that she, in order to get paid, you have to use your legal name, right? So someone just updated their married name, and so that is badge number 389. Married name is, anyway, you all, for purposes, as long as we've kept her as badge 389, do you all care which is the actual last name?
Joel Odou for Real Water, we do not, Your Honor.
Okay, so the only thing is her check gets cut under one name, and she's been, sorry, fine, is the name that she updated on her juror information earlier this month, but after it had already been processed, so the same person, as long as she gets paid and as long as you all know she's badge 389, seated in seat number 10. Is that fine, or do you all want anything on that?
That's fine, Your Honor.
Counsel for Real Water?
We have no preference, Your Honor, that's fine.
Okay, so we take note, let's clear up that record. Okay, sorry, Mr. Pepperman, you're standing, go ahead, please.
Yes, Your Honor, just one last administrative matter. After Real Water reads the statement regarding Dr. Alsina, they will rest, kick it over to us, we will rest, and we have agreed that after we rest and the jury is allowed to leave for the weekend, we would like to just go through the admitted exhibit list with the court and the court clerk to make sure we have everything accurate. And resting is, with the understanding that if there is anything that's off, we would be able to correct that after the fact.
That means, is that equally amenable to Real Water or is not?
Joel Odou for Real Water, it is, and it would apply to both parties. We're going to check all the exhibits and make sure.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, perfectly fine. Are you all planning on doing jury instructions this afternoon, or?
Yeah, Your Honor, on that, I think we've reached agreement on 98% of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we would ask the court to be allowed to confer for another 10 or 15 minutes, then present them to the court. We think we can get that done today.
Okay. Okay, let's get our jury back in and I'll think through that just from a timing standpoint. Okay. Thank you, Marshall. Yes, we're ready. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, at this juncture, as you remember, we are in Defendants case in chief. Counsel for defense, would you like to call your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. In lieu of calling a live witness, the parties have reached an agreement, and we would like to read a statement of what Dr. Alsina, our medical expert, would have opined to had he been called in person.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you understand the counsel is reading as if it was Dr. Alsina, okay? Right, because the parties agreed that this is evidence, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Dr. Angel Alsina is Real Water's retained medical expert. In lieu of having Dr. Alsina testify in this case, the parties have agreed to read the following statements as to some of the testimony Dr. Alsina would have provided. Dr. Alsina is a board-certified physician and fellow trained in liver surgery. Dr. Alsina is a graduate of St. Elizabeth Medical Center General Surgery Residency Program and the Harvard Department of Surgery Fellowship in Organ Transplantation and Hepatobiliary Surgery. He has over 2 decades of experience in hepatology and leads a multidisciplinary liver cancer team. He is a fellow of the Hepatological Society of the United States and the American Association for the Study of Liver Diseases. He has published on the topics of acute liver failure, liver cancer, and liver transplantation. As to Miriam Brody, Christina Sosa, Tina Hartshorn, and Jasmine Schaefer, it is Dr. Alsina's opinion that the medical records indicate that these individuals have fully recovered and are not in need of further care. As to Myles Hunwardsen, it is Dr. Alsina's opinion that the effects of concern with mycophenolate are for conception for women as the drug crosses the blood barrier, and that the available clinical evidence does not indicate an increased risk of malformations in the pregnancy when the father was taking mycophenolate. As a precaution, men on mycophenolate are advised to use contraception. In Dr. Alsina's opinion, the medication can be stopped for future childbearing plans as other immunosuppressants can be substituted or increased. And Mr. Hunwardsen's liver transplant should not be an impediment to having children in the future.
Okay. And was there any cross-examination, or was that the only statement to be read to the jury?
No cross-examination, Your Honor.
Okay. So then, is that witness excused for all purposes or subject to recall?
Excuse for all purposes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So then at this juncture, counsel for defendant, would you like to call your next witness?
Thank you, Your Honor. Joel Odou on behalf of Real Water. At this point, we rest, Your Honor.
Thank you so very much. So ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as we said, the process is first plaintiff does their case in chief, then defendant has an opportunity to do their case in chief. They've now rested. Now I go back to plaintiffs and see if there is a rebuttal case. Counsel?
No, Your Honor, we rest the rebuttal case too.
Okay, so they've rested the rebuttal case. So ladies and gentlemen, what that means is the next step is going to take place on Monday morning, because the next step will be the reading of the jury instructions and going into closing arguments. And then we anticipate that it should go to the jury sometime Monday. Okay, so the reason why I want to give you that heads up today is so to the extent people may have plans later on in the day on Monday, so you can do what you need to do. Many of you, when we were talking about going later on into the week and possibly the following week, hopefully this comes as not too sad of news that you won't be with us longer, but of course you'll be able to deliberate as long as you wish. So, ladies and gentlemen, what that means, since all this has been rested, that means that we're going to send you home for the evening. I know you're sad, but we want to give you the recess admonishment for the weekend. And I am going to give you, I do fully appreciate, I've done this long enough that sometimes people are like, ooh, we're getting so close that we want to look up something, okay? Those various search engines are calling your name. Ignore them. You must not, you cannot. It is so very, very important, right? You know, you wouldn't want to have to start this all over again. So, ladies and gentlemen, so very, very important, the recess admonishment. Hopefully you have a nice, relaxing, enjoyable weekend. We are going to start at 9 a.m. on Monday, the 5th, okay? But during this weekend recess, you're admonished not to talk or converse among yourselves with anyone else on any subject connected with the trial. You may not read, watch, or listen to any report of or commentary on the trial or any person or entity connected with the trial by any medium of information, including without limitation, social media, text, tweets, newspapers, television, internet, radio. Anything I've not stated specifically is also included. Do not visit the scene or any of the events mentioned during the trial. Do not undertake any research, experimentation, or investigation. Do not do any posting or communications on any social networking sites or anywhere else. Do not do any independent research, including but not limited to internet searches, and do not form or express any opinion on any subject connected with the trial until the case is fully and finally submitted at the time of jury deliberation. With that, we wish you a very nice, relaxing weekend, and you know to please leave those notebooks on your chairs. Thank you so very much. The ish counts this way too, right? Okay, early issues count like late issues. Okay, have a great one. Have a good weekend. Thank you. If anyone wants to take those, you should feel free to take them. They're for you all. Thank you.
proceed.
Thanks so much. Okay, so council, what I understand is that you all need a little bit of time to coordinate what you need to coordinate. So you want us to go off the record, or is there anything right now you want to get taken care of before we turn off the record?
Your Honor, Joe Odou for Real Water. It's probably more of a formality. We've rested. The court has heard all of the evidence. We would renew our Rule 50 motion for all of the same reasons as before, and incorporate all of the prior arguments with the addition of the additional testimony, so that is encompassed within the Rule 50 motion. I don't think I need to add anything. I didn't intend to add anything or prolong the process, but that's what we would do, Your Honor.
Court's pausing because of NRCP 50B in its newest form.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Oh, the court's pausing because of NRCP 50B in its newest form. Here's what I'm going to do.
Never mind, Your Honor.
Counsel? I'm sorry. Do you need a few moments, and do we need to talk exhibits, and then we'll circle back to this? Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah, let's do that, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
No worries. If you all don't want to, then the court can do whatever you want. Just tell me, does that seem to make sense that we walk through the exhibits, and then is somebody else handling exhibits?
I am handling exhibits, and we're ready to proceed.
Okay. And then I'll circle back to you does anyone view it as a waiver if we go to exhibits first?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. No, you don't view it as a waiver, just so I don't have double negative?
It is a waiver.
Thank you. Okay. So Madam Clerk, can you please read the exhibits that we show admitted, please?
Exhibits 1 through 8, 18 through 22, 23, 26, 28, 29, Exhibit 32 through 41, 43, 56, 57, 61 in the redacted version, 65 in the redacted version, 71, 77, 82, 84, 86, 199, 200. Those two are video. 220, 221 through 249. I'm on page 15. 381, 391, 393, 394, 399, 412, 413. I'm on page 18. 521, 526, paper copy. On page 20. 590, 591, 592. Page 21. 628 through 637. Page 22. 644, 645, and 646. Page 23. 2040. 2090. I'm on page 27. 2,179.
1 sec, if you don't mind. Okay, thank you.
Page 29, 2,228. Page 34, 2,424. Page 35, 2,426. That's all I have.
I have one that I might have missed. Ability for real water. I showed 2046, but I'm going to double check that. I show that was admitted today, but that may be a mistake on my part.
It's 2426.
That's probably what it was. Probably transposed the number.
2040 was admitted today. Michael Bush. Sorry, what was the number again, counsel?
2046, but I probably transposed it when I marked it. I'm just double checking.
No worries. Go ahead. This is a 2426 and a 2040 that came in with Michael Bush.
Yeah, that was a transcription error on my part. I do not show 2046 was offered. Thank you.
Okay.
So clerk, the one that I may have missed was exhibit 186.
What's 186 and when do you think it was offered?
That was one today that.
Hold on a second. In your listing, because your listing was 2077, 82, 399, 412, 413, 590, 591, and 592. Are you saying there was an additional one in that listing?
Yes, 186 was part of it. It was 20, 77, 82, 186.
I don't have, we can double check. Court recorder, could you see if we can go back to when that listing? Yeah, yours is the same as mine.
If I missed it, that was 186 is one that we previously discussed and is agreed upon.
That's correct.
So we asked to move that, admit that exhibit now.
Okay, so is the non-issue, is that correct? It's stipulated?
That's correct. It's a non-issue. We previously agreed to admit 186. We just may have missed it when we read them off.
Okay, so then that's being viewed as admitted as of say.
And the last issue was 61 and 65, and we submitted the paper copy.
Mr. Parker did earlier today in a nice purple envelope.
I should have known. That's the law. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the reason why the clerk, that's why wonderful Stephanie read it redacted, so that we had it. We're good. So counsel for plaintiffs, are those all the exhibits that you deem as sought to be admitted that were actually admitted?
Yes, Your Honor.
And indeed, is there any exhibits that you're contending were sought to be admitted that were not admitted?
No, Your Honor.
In light of the modification to 7 that came in today, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Counsel for real water, does that listing meet your understanding of all exhibits that were sought to be admitted that were admitted?
Yes, Your Honor. The listing that we have gone over with the court is all the exhibits that we believe have been admitted at trial.
Okay, do you believe that there's any documents that have been sought to be admitted that were not admitted?
No, Your Honor. That's everything.
Because the 7 that got taken care of, right? Okay. Okay, so that takes care of all your exhibit issues. You're taking care of all of that. You close everything. So jury instructions, how many jury instructions do we have? And part of the reason why I'm asking that is there's going to be a lot of things that need to be done with moving all these exhibits electronically to get you where you need to be for Monday. I'm trying to balance whether I should be trying to do these jury instructions with you this afternoon. Is it just a few? So that we'll still have some time to get the other administrative things done? Or is that, do you think, going to take us the balance of the time close to 4:40?
Your Honor, what I would suggest is if we can have 10 to 15 minutes to confer in light of the changes with the terrible herps.
Sure.
And to just narrow any disputes that we have, there may be none. If there are, I expect them to be very discreet and minimal. I do think it's something that we can handle this afternoon in relatively short order.
I appreciate those words. I go for minutes and times. Meaning your short order might be somebody else's 5 hours or 6 hours. That's why I phrased it as before 4:40, so that you understand why I'm phrasing it the way I'm phrasing it. Because people have very different times, right? I mean, for some people, it's not 60 seconds, it may be 60 minutes.
I understand. I didn't hear 4:40. Yes,
Yeah.
by 4:40, I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Okay, and you all going to have a copy for the court to look at what you're going to ask the court to rule on, please?
Yes, Your Honor, we
Okay.
will provide.
So then let's go off the record. I think you need 10 minutes, 15 minutes. What do you want me to say, 3:45? I mean, you tell me how much time you think you need so we can get this taken care of.
I think 15 minutes is fine, though.
Yeah,
Does that work for you as well? Okay,
yeah, 3:45 should work.
sure. So let's go off the record, come back on
Your Honor, did we
3:45.
make a decision on the Rule 50 motion? Our reading of the.
Okay, hold on a second. I thought you wanted, okay.
I apologize, Your Honor. I just want to see if we can put that to
Okay.
rest.
No, good point. We got to balance all these. I really was trying to give everyone an appropriate amount of time since they were multitasking to kind of evaluate things maybe during that same 15 minutes and then come back and address it after said 15 minutes. So
That's
that
fine.
everyone had time to look at whatever they might want to look at. But if all parties want the court to address it right now, I will.
Your Honor, I'm fine with addressing it right now. From our review of the new.
Okay, we're not going to start any argument. I'm going to ask each party. It's either going to be now or in 15 minutes when you come back from the break.
We'll take it after the break. We'll probably resolve it during the break.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so very much. Okay, we're back on the record outside the presence of the jury. I hear some good news is heading my way. Go ahead, counsel for Real Water.
Your Honor, Joel Odou for Real Water. We have agreed on all the jury instructions but one.
Okay.
The one that we have a disagreement on is for the punitive damages phase. It's pattern jury instruction 12.1. Plaintiffs have
Which
modified
version?
it
Which version?
of, what are these eight?
Financial condition.
Yeah.
2018.
Okay.
And this was provided to the court a calendar call. This is the only
Sure,
remaining
I can go
dispute.
back and look through the,
Or we can just tell you.
yeah, go ahead.
The issue, Your Honor, is we don't know if there will be a punitive damages phase at this time. So the court would prefer to defer this and see if the jury checks the box, so to speak, and there is a punitive damage phase, then this is the instruction that would be given as the amount of punitive damages. That's the only dispute. We could,
What do you all, what makes more sense for you all?
Judge, I think we argued this so long ago. Remember the cases we argued. I'd rather just take our previous motions, do a real quick bench brief, file it Monday. Like Mr. Odou says, if there's a punitive phase, or maybe even when the jury's deliberating on Monday, we could address this.
also agreeable.
Okay, so is that a double? You'd like to stay tuned until Monday?
On that one jury instruction, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all the other jury instructions have been agreed to by the parties.
Okay, so you're going to get them in a beautiful, nice form, right? Have they also been agreed to as the order?
They are.
Yes, Your Honor, we don't disagree on the order. We have to insert them in, but
Where my question's going is, if they're done order, it's so much more helpful for you all to insert your page numbers in your upper right-hand corner, right? In a typed format and give it back to the court. So if it's 1 through X, right, whatever that X is, because that way you have a chance to double check it. That way it avoids if somebody's trying to use a particular jury instruction in front of the jury for your closing argument that someone doesn't inadvertently call it 12 and the other person uses 13. Not saying that that would happen with what skilled lawyers I have, but been there, done that. You know what I mean? But that way, if it's already in the upper right-hand corner, you're agreeing on exactly what it is, and you just hand that lovely little set to the court. And then we hold off on the punitives. You wanted to hold off till Monday. Is there any reason not to do that?
no, Your Honor, that's our preference. I will go back to my office today and put them in order and number them, send them over to the defendant so everyone has them over the weekend. And we'll provide the agreed upon copy to the court first thing Monday.
We agree.
Does that work for you? Okay. Okay, so okay. Sounds good. Then is there anything else that the parties would like the court to do? What I understand is you're taking care of everything. You've taken care of the laptop to go back to the jury. There is, now, I do have to ask you the titanium rods and bracket question. Because did you all end up providing a picture for an exhibit? I know you
Yes.
talked about that, but, okay, so you have an exhibit number for that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
We do have to look it up, I don't know it.
Is it one of the admitted exhibits or the stipulated exhibits that previously have been done?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, no worries. So is anyone going to need the titanium rods or the bracketing for purposes of your closing arguments? Because the clerk needs to know she has to bring them back to the vault or not.
No, I don't think so, Your Honor.
You can let us know on Monday. It's just, we just need to.
We don't plan on using any of the physical evidence.
Are you still contemplating it? If you are, we'll hold them till Monday. It's just a matter.
That's fine, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, if you have time today, okay, we'll see if they really want them back today. If not, wait till Monday. We'll leave them till Monday. Okay. And this is a minor detail, just sometime, now you've got more important things on your mind right now, but at some point within next week, we do need that STIP to destroy the juror questionnaires for the vault, because if not, we're obligated to bring them to the vault. Remember, we talked about, as you did in Gallagher, you STIP'd that they could be read to destroy the juror questionnaires. I had understood verbally from a question I asked you all back at the time, the beginning of the trial, it's been a couple weeks, that you were going to do so similarly for this case. And so that's just on your sometime in the next week, because what we would prefer not to have to do is bring all those boxes down to the vault and then, right?
We agree on it.
Yeah, so
Baby shredder. We need to get Chairman Herb's signature on this.
you do,
Yeah, we do.
you do. So that's why I'm just putting that kind of on your generalized.
And speaking of Chairman Herb's, we were supposed to do the good faith motion Monday morning.
Mr. Kemp,
Well, you may not have understood my question at bench when I asked Mr. Odou. His firm very promptly filed a non-opposition to a motion that was not yet presented to the court.
Okay.
You may not be aware that there was.
Trying to get ahead.
Yeah, you don't really want me to go into this right now?
I just want to know if I have to be here Monday morning earlier than the opening. That's my only
The
question.
challenge is the court's been with you all, so I haven't looked to see if anything has actually come over in the proposed order inbox yet. Since the time you all were at bench and nothing had come over. I'd understood at that juncture that maybe one of the other counsel was going to mention something, okay? You may, when the court was talking about the improper communication to the law clerk, somebody tried to send an email to my law clerk about said OST. We're not going into details. The court's going to have to address that. Unfortunately, other parties sent replies all to said email. So we have an issue that the court's going to have to address on Monday. The court will figure out what it needs to address on Monday because, and I'm not going to say anything else, I don't have the very parties I have to address the issue with. I'm going to address what I need to address on Monday. I'm going to see if we now have a proposed OST. But I'm going to ask you is if I then go look in the inbox and we now finally have a proposed OST, which we didn't have as of whatever, it was 2 whatever o'clock that I had you all come up to bench. Do you all want me to still set it for Monday? Is there going to be an objection? Because as you can appreciate.
No objection from us, Your Honor.
No objection from us, Your Honor. We've already consented to something that hasn't happened.
Right, but I just want to make sure if your consent can be treated as if once it does happen that.
We would appreciate that, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I could add to that.
We're not going into any details about any emails or any of that conduct because I'm going to make sure I have all parties present so that nobody has any issues about ensuring that everyone has an opportunity to say what they want to say. If that's where you potentially were heading, counsel.
No,
if you weren't, my apology, but I just need to, I can't discuss issues unless I have everybody present.
I understand. It's not. Both plaintiffs and Real Water have given our email approval to waive the 1-day notice requirement on any OST that's submitted. So if our emails are not attached to it, we additionally agree on the record now, Your Honor.
Thank you for that courtesy. Okay, Real Water, that goes for you too, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're just trying to get this done so I can hear it. I appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Is there any other matters Wait, hold on a second. I'm seeing the finger from a different finger. Let me be clear. I'm seeing Mr. Odou saying he wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Your Honor, we are working on the verdict form. The question, it's not even a dispute yet. It's a question of whether or not past medical bills that have been awarded by this court will appear on the verdict form so there's no confusion by the jury that they're not awarding those. That is the...
Awarded or stipulated?
Stipulated. Well, there was a motion for summary judgment, so I would say it's been awarded by the court. So we are making sure we're handling those appropriately.
But I thought you stipulated to the.
Future meds.
To the future, but also I thought you stipulated to the motion for pass.
We did not oppose the motion for pass.
That's why I was using the term, because you all stated multiple, okay. You all know what you've stated as far as we are responsible for this, we're responsible for that, what's the number of this, the number of that. That's what the.
On the record multiple times, those numbers.
Those are your words, not mine. The court's just referencing that there was certain questions and statements made in court. So hence the reason why the court was phrasing it the way the court phrased it was in light of those statements made in court. Is there just an issue or is there just a way to get this worked out?
We're going to get it worked out and we just wanted to alert the court.
That's why I don't have the verdict forms yet, so I was going to wait, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're working on right now.
Okay, and 2 sets of verdict forms as a just in case, correct?
The ones that the court currently has have terrible herps on it, and so the terribles needs to be removed, and we are hopeful to resolve this issue at the same time when we provide the fresh one.
You just brought up a new issue. Remember, there's a stipulation on this caption. Are you keeping the caption as is and just for clarity, and then just saying that there's something in your verdict form that just addresses, because remember, you told the jury not to take any consideration. So are you adding something to your verdict form that clarifies to whom any award would be to?
I think you just leave terribles on there at this point, Your Honor. I think it'd be too confusing after they've been sitting here to try to take them out.
The court's perfectly fine with it. That's
Real water, Joel Odou for real water. We're fine with leaving the caption alone. Obviously, they do need to be deleted from the dollar amount awards, and there's some
language that you might be changing based on what was presented to the court previously. That's just, I was just highlighting. I assumed you all were taking care of that over the weekend, which is why I really didn't bring it up for right now.
That is all. That's it. Now, one more thing.
We're good with 15 motions?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you. I was going to clarify that point. Thank you so much, Mr. Parker. So, Mr. Odou, is there a pending?
There is not a pending motion, Your Honor.
Okay. Is there any pending anything from counsels for plaintiff?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Have a nice weekend, folks. We'll go off the record. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.